Problem.
LeBeau, I want to just tell you something right now.
Go ahead.
That if it weren't for the so-called rich, and I think you would call me rich because my husband has worked, and I have worked, we've worked every day of our lives. Our children grew up, they work every day of their lives, they earn salary. They pay taxes, which I am sure you are reaping the benefits from, and it wants to make me stop paying taxes and go to jail right now so that I could, if I am actually providing food, transportation, and housing for you, if I thought that our hard-earned tax dollars were doing that for you, I would never pay one...
Well, all right, let's ask the question. Are you in any way being subsidized by our system, by the government? Are you receiving welfare payment, unemployment payment, any of those things?
I've been asked that before. Here's my answer. I would never take welfare because I would never take this government's blood.
How do you sustain yourself?
As I told you, through fundraising and through donations.
Fundraising from
I don't believe
people who believe in what we do. We have almost 5,000 members.
All right, we'll move on. Thank you very much. Your turn. Come in. Hello.
Hello, my name is Jim.
Yes, Jim.
Okay, I've listened to the conversation on the young man's point of view and also the officer. I am of age. I hope where this young man, with his different point of view, will respect me for what I'm about to say. And don't condemn me because I happen to be one of these people that I saw the results of the people who have the same point of view that he has. Now, what has happened, and I'm going back because I'm 42 years old now. Now, what has happened is the first thing that I go around, when I go around to different schools and all, talking to young people, one of the things I noticed is a lot of them are impatient. And this young man fits into the category of being young and being impatient. And so rather than to reap the harvest of the, what we would call the patience, the diligence, the work, and let the message of God or whatever it is that he's reaching for come in its own natural way, he wishes to try and hurry up some type of message. So maybe what we're saying is the same old revolutionary idea comes to point. Hurry up and have a revolution before the people become rational to what is happening to them.
Well, you know, in 1960, when I weathered that storm and went through all of this and was one of the first to point the finger at marijuana as the culprit, people poo-pooed, laughed at me, and lighted up.
I was an outcast.
But I've got to tell you something about it. I had my eyes completely opened when I went out with Dr. Victor Vogel.
Mm-hmm.
He was in charge of discharge of all heroin addicts from Corona.
You got it.
And he had to interview 125 heroin people, supposedly dried out, before he found one who had not begun with marijuana.
Okay.
Now, that's the reason I am so opposed to marijuana. It's a jump-off point. That is not to say that everyone who resorts to marijuana, smokes a couple of joints, is going on to heroin, PCP, but they had to find 125 before they could find one that didn't start with.
My point is this, that I would, even if we found 2 people out of 1,000 that got this revelation that he's talking about or this information from God, I would still be asking the question, when you try to reach, like for example, in the form of having a child, basically when you have a natural childbirth where the mother's body is clean and the father's body is clean and everything, only under perfect conditions is there a creation. On the drugs, I've seen babies with no hands and arms.
Oh, come on. You know it didn't come from these drugs that we're talking about. That's a lie. If they came from that, it came from alcohol.
There has been chromosome damage. You're right, sir, the caller, but
now,
let's not...
Let me go a little bit further.
Then very quickly, because
I don't want to attack anything.
we have a full board here.
Okay.
All right.
The main thing is that if he wants to reach the healthy aspect of what of this God nature and everything, he has to consider the bloodline, the genes, the condition, what they call the motivation, and of course the bottom line of the whole thing is we're going into unknown effects with drugs, and his unknown effect is what is terrifying or destroying.
Well, we know the effect. The effect is to raise the consciousness, to show people what's really going on in this world. That's the effect.
All right, let's take a break. We'll continue. LeBeau, here in person, Karl Marx, Che Guevara, hallucinogenic drugs are the basis of his religion, called Drugs and Revolution. Also in the studio is Sergeant Eugene Rudolph, Sheriff's Narcotics Division, and the board is full. Let's go to you very quickly. Your turn to talk back.
Yes, George. I wanted to say that in the 60s, you know, when people were experimenting with LSD, there were 2 things that happened with this drug. There was a whole element that turned to hard drugs, and it became a very bad scene in San Francisco and all over of hard drugs and narcotics. crime, and then there was the other element, those people that were using it for religious purposes, and they saw that it was not the answer, that there was no answer in LSD, and that's how the whole meditation movement in the United States started.
All right, let's get a reaction from Norm. Yes.
Okay, we feel that meditation is in fact a hallucination. With the drugs, we're more aware. With meditation, you try to insulate yourself from the world. With the drugs, you can see what's going on. Now, the problem with what people did in the 60s was they only wanted to take the drug. We tied it with Marxism because taking the drug is not enough. Taking the drug and becoming aware of the need for Marxism is what has to be done.
Let me ask you something, Norm, very quickly. One of our listeners called in, could not get through, but asked Chuck, are your beliefs parallel to those of Charles Manson?
Not at all, because he was a devil worshiper, and he tried to control people.
But you worship Karl Marx.
We worship a different way of life. Charles Manson worshipped capitalism because he wanted to control other people. We worship God because we want a way of life where everybody's equal, and I won't control anybody, but everybody will be free to control themselves.
All right, your turn. Come in.
I just want to ask two little questions. One is, what is your concept of God?
Okay, my concept of God is something which stirs people to action. Now, we're usually just too drugged out on other drugs to know what's going on, and alcohol, the cocaine, or the heroin. What we take the marijuana and the mushrooms for is to become aware of what's going on today. Now, if you weren't aware, you wouldn't see that the people who live in the street are there because of the people who are rich. That's the whole nature of capitalism. There can't be rich people without there being poor people.
Your turn. Come in.
You say, Mr. Norm, this is Tyrone.
Hi.
Say, man, where do you join your organization? It sounds like a trip, man.
Well,
Wait a minute. You've got a convert here. Hold it just a second. We didn't intend to do this, but Norm Luba, I hope you understand, first of all, that Karl Marx, Che Guevara, and the hallucinogenic drugs are the basis of his religion called Drugs and Revolution, and he says it will establish a utopian government for our society. Come in. You're on your way.
I do.
okay, I'll tell you.
Hallelujah.
Can I tell him where to write, George?
I would prefer, all right, tell them where to write.
Okay, write to Norm LeBeau at P.O. Box 492, Monrovia, California, 91016.
All right, you got a convert. Let's go from there. Hello, number 2. Are you up?
Yes, I'm here.
You want to join the movement?
No, I sure don't.
Hallelujah, sister.
I just wanted to ask Norm about how he feels that he can conceive of God through drugs. It seems like, from what he's been saying, I only heard part of it. I've heard probably about the last 15 minutes, that what he's been saying is that he doesn't believe in God because he doesn't believe in the Bible, but that he's looking for a Marxist society, and I think that he's using the excuse of God, it sounds like to me.
No, we don't use God as an excuse. We use God as an inspiration. That's why we want Marxism.
Okay, well, how can you use God as inspiration if you don't believe in the Bible? Okay.
No, we don't believe in the biblical concept of God. We believe that they were talking about the devil, because who wouldn't want you to have the knowledge of good and evil? God would want you to have that knowledge. He would want you to take the drugs.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Your turn. Come in.
This is John, and it's just amazing. It seems like this young man has been able to drug the audience with his comments.
No, we've been able to get them knowledgeable.
You mean it got to you, fella?
No,
We've only had one convert so far. Can we count you as the...
The only thing I can think of that he's got an amazing gimmick going here. He's got the opportunity to become a millionaire.
No, it's not a gimmick, and we don't do it for money,
He's
sir.
doing it in the name of his religion, and everybody is calling up to try to give him some guidance. I congratulate you. I think you're a fantastic con man.
Well, we're not a con man. If I was doing it for money, I'd be like Wally George.
Con man.
All right, thank you for that. There he goes. Your turn. Come in.
Hi, I'd just like to say I used to smoke grass and all that. And I was in the gutter, like, he's complaining about these people that are in the gutter.
Yeah?
Okay, well, I was in the gutter. And I was there and I was smoking grass and I was doing all that stuff. And what I'm opposed to, not so much the marijuana, but this leveling of society. And if we level society, we rob the people that are in the gutter the opportunity to get out of the gutter.
What opportunity? If they're in the gutter now, they're going to be in the gutter forever.
How do you know? I got out of it.
You were in
Stop smoking grass.
I'm sure you were in the gutter about 10 years ago, which was a time of upward mobility. Now we're in like a depression-type atmosphere. There's no more upward.
I'm in depression. I have my own business, and I'm very successful.
Well, I think
had
that...
to stop smoking that crap before I could understand what was going on.